Imagine watching your life savings, over $4 million, vanish in under 30 minutes. It wasn't siphoned off to a shady crypto wallet. It wasn't wired to an offshore bank account. It was washed clean right through the front door of legitimate stockbrokers. Welcome to Behind the Surface. Today we follow the chain from initial access to lasting pain. We're breaking down the mechanics of the Hong Kong Stock Takeover, a secondary market laundering scheme that turns real brokerage accounts into invisible cash-out machines.
Moving stolen cash is a headache. Crypto gets flagged, bank wires get frozen. But a stock trade? To an automated clearinghouse, a trade looks like a trade. The key is controlling both sides of the order book.
Stephanie was a disciplined long-term investor. Over 7 years with this broker, she built up her savings to almost $5 million. Portfolio consisting of blue-chip U.S. equities, U.S. Treasury bills, generally considered safe investments, stable investments. To secure that portfolio, she relied on Interactive Brokers' proprietary two-factor system called IB-Key. The marketing materials state that whenever someone attempts to log in, the account holder receives a push notification on their phone and must approve the login. But in May 29, 2025, an unauthorized party gained access to Stephanie's account. They came from a known data center IP address and were associated with a never-before-seen MAC address. If the software for the brokerage is running on that machine, it can look at host factors like the MAC address. The IB key system was dead silent. No push notification was sent to her phone. The threat actor had full access for more than 24 hours without triggering a single two-factor challenge. The next morning, the execution phase began. The hackers issued electronic instructions to liquidate Stephanie's entire blue chip portfolio. Millions of dollars in Tesla, Nvidia, US Treasuries were sold in a rapid fire sequence. How does a sophisticated risk management system miss a total portfolio liquidation concentrated into a single penny stock? How did the criminals actually extract the cash into their pockets without triggering audits, bank alarms, paper trails? The cash proceeds were concentrated into one asset, a microcap stock called HCAI Parking Management Technology, HCAI. That compromised account bought 560,000 shares of HCAI at a price $8 and some change. And it immediately dropped to $6 and some change. And then over the coming days, it dropped to practically worthless. Stephanie was left holding over a $4 million loss. To put it simply, the Syndicate customers buy worthless stocks for pennies and then use either pure social engineering or social engineering leading to account takeover to cause the victims' accounts to buy the stock from them at a high price. It's basically a modern, streamlined, slick twist on the old pump and dump stock scam that's been shown in a lot of movies. Now, before we go down this rabbit hole, let's get one thing straight. I'm not telling you that these specific groups we are about to look at are the exact individuals responsible for Stephanie's particular situation. I want to show the underground process, illustrate how it works. I'm not saying these are the individuals in this court case. What exactly is HCAI? It's a small holding company incorporated in the Cayman Islands, owned by a company in the British Virgin Islands that owns a holding company in Hong Kong, that owns an operating company in China, and all of this is audited by an auditing firm in Singapore. Now, this chain sounds unusual and it does impede transparency, but this type of corporate structure is actually not rare for what's called red cap stocks, Chinese companies that want to bridge the very different laws of China and the US and access US investors. They don't have a website, and the website of their operating company is down. Some law firms are now alleging that the company issued materially misleading business information to the public. HCAI is what's called a microcap stock. It's a relatively small company that doesn't have a lot of trading volume, has a small market capitalization. That means that it's relatively easy for the syndicate to acquire a substantial portion of the outstanding stock. Once they're the biggest group trading this stock, they can basically set the price that they'll sell the stock at. Normally, if you set a high price for an essentially worthless stock, investors are not going to buy it from you. But the Hong Kong Stock Takeover attack solves that problem. The syndicate needs pre-positioned targets too. How do they find someone with $5 million sitting in a specific brokerage account? To orchestrate a highly coordinated stock takeover, like Stephanie got hit with, they don't guess. They knew who they're after. Here's an advertisement that was circulated on Telegram 2 weeks before the attack from Little Z, a well-established data broker. Updated May 11th, online customers of Interactive Brokers in the United States, trading stocks and securities. This is a list, fresh list of Interactive Broker customers used for targeting in scams. Selling these breached data lists, it's business as usual for partners of these syndicates. They keep it quiet though. You don't usually see them in the news. They don't do things like make extortion demands with this business model. While this is a somewhat targeted attack, they need to cast a wide net because different individuals have different technical controls, different email filters. Not everyone's going to fall for a phishing attack. So they still need to send it out to a large group of people in order to make sure that they get enough accounts to work with.
With that data in hand, you just need to launch a phishing campaign.
And what happened a week after that advertisement was posted for that data and a week before the attack? This phishing campaign was launched out of Hong Kong. We know that modern phishing infrastructure captures the session token after the victim completes their MFA, and that session token can have a long lifespan. The attacker could be in that account for hours, for days, before actually executing the trades, before the syndicate says it's go time. Most systems, surprisingly, will let you retain access to accounts even if your IP changes drastically. Not all will. Some look at various characteristics of the login, not just that session token. And for example, Microsoft has continuous access evaluation that will flag on a suspicious change in IP address or other characteristics of that system that's logged in.
Well, it's important to understand that continuous access evaluation is not on by default. It must be configured.
But apparently, according to the allegations made by the victim in the court case we're looking at, this didn't happen with IB key. And attackers know what systems work with, what techniques, how long they can gain access to systems, what sets off red flags. They know these things, so they'll build up a group of compromised accounts, and they know they have a certain time period without setting off red flags once they have the access to wait until the syndicate says it's go time. How did the criminals actually extract the cash into their pockets without triggering audits, bank alarms, paper trails? Well, you have to step into the digital underworld. The trick is you've got to control both sides of the order book. And this is the exact money transfer pitch being sold by threat actors such as Wan Che. Wan Che says, for clients, code for victims, you can't wash on B platforms, crypto, fake gambling, that sort of thing. Try washing them with regular stocks. This is not a fake platform. It involves real secondary market trading. Secondary market is, for example, the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ. They're stocks that are traded between owners of the stocks rather than between the company itself and stockholders. So it's typical stocks. When they say secondary market, that just means what we think of as the stock market. Real secondary market trading, wide audience, low resistance, large capital, easy deposits. And they're not the only ones out there offering this either. In fact, this ad from another partner of the same syndicate is virtually identical. What if your customers, talking about scam victims, don't trust fake or counterfeit trading platforms? Real buying in Hong Kong US stocks, only deal with regulated Hong Kong US stock listings, legitimate broker account, real holdings, verifiable and traceable. Real stock trading as the solution for avoiding anti-money laundering tripwires. Every trade in Stephanie's account occurred on a legitimate exchange. used her own funds in her own brokerage account that she'd been using for 7 years. The syndicate had already pre-positioned their own sell orders on the other side of the order book. Stephanie's compromised account bought those shares at that price the syndicate set, and the clean cash moved directly into the syndicate's pockets without a direct paper trail from Stephanie's. Yes, the feds can piece together through the audit logs, but there's no direct connection like there is with a wire transfer.
Every share you buy must have been sold by someone else, but you'll never find out who.
电视的鬼影在搜狐子穿梭，高频的角力是无声的搏斗，账本的漏洞被无情地捕获。
Once it's go time, all the transactions take place at once, basically rapid fire at the same time, and those stocks are all sold to those target accounts. They have to coordinate because it's not just Stephanie who's the target here. They're going after at least 20 targets at a time to make the trades. The Hong Kong Stock Takeover services tell you, we've got 21 target accounts that are going to participate on the buying side. We got this many accounts on the selling side. Stephanie's account was used to buy 560,000 shares, and there was around 20 million outstanding Class A shares at the time of the attack. If you look at that number now, it's gone down quite a bit because after the stock became worthless again, there was a 30-to-1 reverse stock split, reduced the amount of outstanding shares to something like 600,000 now. If you figure the syndicate controlled most of the 20 million shares and Stephanie was caused to buy 500,000, it matches up. There's at least 20 target accounts used in an attack like this. We've been talking about the court case this whole episode. And I'm not a lawyer, and the focus is on the attack method, not the legalities of this particular case, but I don't want to leave you hanging. You probably assumed this was a criminal prosecution against the syndicate, or maybe a lawsuit filed by Stephanie to an attempt to get her life savings back. It's neither. The plaintiff in this lawsuit is Interactive Brokers. They're suing Stephanie in federal court to block her access to arbitration. They say Stephanie did not provide any evidence of a data breach. Well, these syndicates aren't big game ransomware hunters. They aren't focused on extortion. Their tactics work best when they stay out of the headlines. So no, most people would not have access to evidence of data breaches like this. But maybe there's just no evidence of any data breaches. Interactive Brokers made a note on the complaint when discussing the new login from the Hong Kong data center with a new device pairing. Per KS, our records show this is a login from Wong's Mac iPhone. The Mac starting with an F here is the Mac of Stephanie's iPhone. What is the problem with that? MAC address is not sent over the internet. But Travis, code running locally on a device like IBKey can read the MAC directly from the device it's running on, sort of. But whenever any app reads the MAC on an iPhone, the API always returns a value starting with a 0. If an iOS app reads a MAC starting with an F, it is running in a simulator. And that makes sense for a data center. I hate when I reach for my iPhone and accidentally pull a data center out of my pocket. Well, okay, but they say that even if IB LLC provided the technology and cleared the transactions for Stephanie, Stephanie doesn't legally meet the definition of their customer due to how they designed their corporate structure, so she can't be allowed to enter arbitration. Again, I'm not a lawyer, so maybe she's not defined as a customer. Maybe that data for sale isn't several breaches, and maybe a data center is an iPhone. What I thought was interesting, though, is that they've got a lot of arguments against Stephanie, but none of those arguments is that IB key worked. This case was just filed, so we'll have to see how this all plays out. And hey, what about that syndicate that has the money and is still doing this to other people? It shows that even though nothing is entirely new, threats are evolving, and so must our defenses. Keep looking behind the surface, and I'll see you in the next episode.
the surface, follow the chain from initial access to lasting